Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
We are in Luke chapter 20. So if you could open up your Bibles, your Bible apps on your phone, and follow along, that would be great. We'll get cruising here in overgear just in a little bit. So, verses 1 and 2. Now it happened in one of those days, as he taught the people in the temple and preached the gospel, that the chief priests and scribes, together with the elders, confronted him and spoke to him, saying, "Tell us, by what authority are you doing these things? Or who is he who gave you this authority?" Of course, we know who it is. We all do. Well, at least we should, as God. So right out of the gate here, we see the effort going into trying to discredit Jesus in anything he says. The fear that they had of Jesus was tremendous. He knew the word. They've heard the rumors. He can quote the scrolls, because they didn't have books, they had scrolls. He could quote them word for word, and he knew it in and out, because that's Jesus. And they were astonished at the knowledge that he had of these scrolls. They're like, what? Some of these guys have been studying the scrolls for 40, 50 years, and they didn't know half of what Jesus knew. And they weren't happy about it. So verses 3 through 6. But he answered and said to them, "I also will ask you one thing, and answer me. The baptism of John, was it from heaven or from men?" And they reasoned among themselves, so they were talking, saying, "If we say from heaven, he will say, 'Why then did you not believe him?' But if we say from men, all the people stone us, for they are persuaded that John was a prophet." All right, Jesus knew that the leaders had not believed in John, but and they also knew the people regarded John as the prophet of God. So they could not openly deny John, but they refused to acknowledge him. Refused to acknowledge who Jesus was. So that just starts the beginning of it. Verse 7 and 8. So they answered that they did not know where it was from. And Jesus said to them, "Neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things." Jesus therefore refused to answer their questions about his authority. Yet he actually did answer it. For his authority came from the same God and Father who had commissioned John the Baptist. And they weren't liking it. They were getting mud in their eye, and they were getting a little unhappy with Jesus. All right, this is going to be a fairly long one. This is going to be verses 9 through 19. Then he began to tell the people this parable. A certain man planted a vineyard, leased it to the vine dresser, and went into a far country for a long time. Now at vintage time, he sent a servant to the vine dresser, that they might give him some of the fruit of the vineyard. But the vine dressers beat him and sent him away empty-handed. Again, he sent another servant, and they beat him also, treated him shamefully, and sent him away empty-handed. And again, he sent a third. This guy's really persistent. And they wounded him also and cast him out. Then the owner of the vineyard said, "What shall I do? I will send my beloved son. Probably they will respect him when they see him." But when the vine dressers saw him, they reasoned among themselves, saying, "This is the heir. Come, let us kill him, that the inheritance may be ours." So they cast him out of the vineyard and killed him. Therefore, what will the owner of the vineyard do to them? He will come and destroy those vine dressers and give the vineyard to others. And when they heard it, they said, "Certainly not." Of course, we know who is hearing this right now is the Sadducees and all the authority people. Then he looked at them and said, "What then is this that is written? The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. Whoever falls on the stone will be broken, but to whomever it falls, it will grind him to powder." And the chief priests and scribes that very hour sought to lay hands on him, but they feared the people, for they knew he had spoken this parable against them. They wanted to take Jesus out, but they were more afraid of the people, what the people are going to do to him. So let me unpack this a little bit. All right, the refusal of the leaders to accept Jesus' authority, as we see in verses 1 through 8, leads to this parable that not only clearly affirms that authority, but also alludes to Jesus' death and his following vindication. The parable draws its imagery from the Song of the Vineyard, and that's in Isaiah 5, 1 through 7. I'll actually read that to you. Isaiah 5, 1 through 7. "Now let me sing to my well-beloved a song of my beloved regarding his vineyard. My well-beloved has a vineyard on a very fruitful hill. He dug it up and cleared out its stones, and planted it with the choicest vine. He built a tower in its midst. He also made a winepress in it, so he expected it to bring forth good grapes. But it brought forth wild grapes. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge, please, between me and my vineyard. What more could have been done to my vineyard that I have not done in it? Why then, when I expected to bring forth good grapes, did it bring forth wild grapes? And now, please let me tell you what I will do in my vineyard. I will take away its hedge, and it shall be burned, and break down its walls, and it shall be trampled down. I will lay waste. It shall not be pruned or dug, but there shall come up briars and thorns. I will also command the clouds that they rain no more on it. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah are his pleasant plant. He looked for justice, but behold oppression, for righteousness, but behold a cry for help. So you may think I'm going to repeat myself a little bit here, but I need to help expand upon this so we can understand it a little better. So Luke's account omits the quotation Isaiah 5:2 found in Matthew 21:33 and Mark 12:1. The details of the story between the three Gospels is just a little closer. They're a little off just a little bit, but they're different interpretations. In Matthew and Mark, one of the servants is killed. In Luke, only the son is killed. The story tends more toward allegory than Jesus' parable usually does. The vineyard may be compared to Israel on the basis of Isaiah 5. The owner represents God, the son, Jesus, the tenants, the religious leaders, charged with cultivating the religious life of Israel. And the servants correspond to the prophets. After the meeting with these religious leaders, chief priests, scribes, and elders, Jesus spoke of a parable about a vineyard owner and some renters who refused to honor the vineyard owner's representatives when he sent them to receive payment for the produce. The wicked renters mistreated and killed the owner's son. Afterward, the owner himself destroyed them and gave the vineyard to others. The religious leaders understood immediately that they were being cast as the wicked renters, and they rejected the story. May it never be, certainly not, or God forbid, is what they were thinking and what they were saying. It appears from the contents and the reaction of the religious leaders that Jesus meant them. Those leaders had been rejected, and they understood that. They understood that the cornerstone, the stone seems to envision the final judgment of those who rejected Jesus. Christ is the cornerstone of his church, and we can find that in Ephesians 2:20. It is written for us. Anytime we hear cornerstone, we see pictures of it, boing, Jesus should come to our mind. All of those who reject Jesus' plan and God's plan are acting in opposition to God's purposes, and they will be judged accordingly. So whoever comes against Jesus and is broken can change and become a child of God. But some will never stop fighting God and will be ground into powder. We have that free will to choose. One will lead to eternal life of joy and happiness with Jesus, and one will lead to an eternal torment and damnation. We have a choice. It's pretty crystal clear. For us who have been enlightened with God's word, and it is up to us to help share that word so other people can see this, that there's one or two places you're going to go when you die. And sometimes family members are the hardest to talk to, friends. We still need to reach out. It's our job. It's a job description Jesus gave us. It's something we need to be joyful in doing. And we need to be very careful how we do it. You're going to go to hell in this. You can't do that. You got to talk nice to people. Help explain the scriptures to them. Why do you think what you think? Here, let me show you in God's word. This is what God's word says right here. And it'll go a lot better. You can't just threaten people with eternity in hell. It doesn't really help them. They need to understand God has promises, God has plans for all of us. And he loves us. There's no other God talked about anywhere, all these fake little God with little g, that loves like our God does. Sent his son down for us. There's nothing more greater than that. All right, verses 20 and 21. So they watched him and sent spies who pretended to be righteous, that they might seize on his words in order to deliver him to the power and authority of the governor. Ooh. And they asked him, saying, Teacher, we know that you say and teach rightly, and you do not show personal favoritism, but teach the way of God in truth. Sorry, I just find that hilarious. Oh, I have to stop here, because it's like they're just saying, we know you've been speaking lies to us, so tell us the truth. No, he hasn't. He's been teaching from the scrolls and teaching the truth. But here, right here, they say, but teach the way of God in truth. Oh my goodness, they really did not want to hear the word at all. No, hold on. He's saying this wrong. Man, we got to get this guy in jail. We got to beat him. We got to figure out something he's doing wrong. Jesus wasn't doing anything wrong. But wow, teaches the way of God in truth. Boy, Jesus was the ultimate. He taught always in truth. It just blew my mind. I'm like, wow, that's right there for us to look at. But then if you turn it just a little bit and you look at it another way, from another point of view, that's how some people think. And it's kind of scary. That's how the word gets twisted by other pastors and teaching the word wrong, and people don't want to hear the truth. All right. We will go to 22 through 26. Is it lawful for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not? But he perceived their craftiness and said to them, Why do you test me? Show me a denarius. Whose image and inscription does it have? They answered and said, Caesar's. And he said to them, Render therefore to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. But they could not catch him in his words in the presence of the people, and they marveled at his answers, and they kept silent. Ugh. This portrait or picture of the coin represented submission to Rome. Jesus' statement may seem ordinary to us, as we have become so used to the saying, render to Caesar what is Caesar's. But it was an unexpected and convincing response to the question. Jesus' questioners were sure his answer would divide either the government officials or the pious people and zealots who opposed the foreign domination. Actually, Jesus appealed neither to those who encouraged revolution nor the political compromises. He stated a principle, not an accommodation or a compromise. He stated a principle. So they were like, oh, can't get him here now again. Boy, they're chasing Jesus. They want him badly. And they kept their mouths silent. So, verse 27. And some of the Sadducees who deny that there is a resurrection came to him and asked him. So just so we know, everybody knows we're on the same playing field here. Sadducees, they do not believe that there's ever a resurrection. All right, verse 28. Teacher, Moses wrote to us that if a man's brother dies, having a wife, and he dies without children, his brother should take his wife and raise up the offspring of his brother. All right. The first group had used flattery and compliments to try and make Jesus Christ vulnerable to their trickery. This group uses scripture. They act more pious. However, the Sadducees, like the cults, perverted scripture to favor their unholy doctrine. Second is the precept and the method. Moses wrote. The Sadducees would support their question with a precept of the law of Moses. This would supposedly give their argument some weight. We're going to bring up Moses. This is what Moses said. Now, what are you going to do about that, Jesus? What are you going to do? Well, let's get the rest of it from 29 through 33. Now, there were 7 brothers, and the first took a wife and died without children, and the second took her as a wife and died childless. Then the third took her in like manner, the 7 also, and they left no children and died. Last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife does she become? For all 7 had her as a wife. All right, this is kind of a funny example. Error invents the craziest stories to try and prove some doctrine wrong. They set up ridiculous scenarios to try to show that the Bible creates strange and impractical situations. The person asking the question is not looking for an answer, but is trying to trick, to embarrass, and to discredit Jesus, whom they are asking the questions. You may have seen or even experienced this yourself in your life. When someone's trying to twist God's word, that's not what it says. This is what they're going to want to argue with you. You don't fall for it. Certain religions, cults will come knocking on your door. Let me explain to you what this is. Nope, sorry, it's not. That's not what my Bible says. Well, no, sorry, this is not what God's word says. Thank you, have a good day. Sometimes it's just all you need to do. All right. The Sadducees were clever, but not clever enough to trip up Jesus. Rather, his wisdom made them look like fools. Oh, to be in that crowd, I'm glad I wasn't, but to see the Sadducees and all them guys just like kind of shrivel up after what Jesus just said. You know, I'm sure that didn't go very well at the next meeting that they had. Look what he did to you guys. Oh, you know, I've been 10 more years senior. I would have known what to say to Jesus. No, you know, you're not going to trick Jesus into anything. Not happening. All right, verse 34 through 38. And Jesus answered and said to them, the sons of this age marry and are given in marriage. But those who are counted worthy to attain that age and the resurrection from the dead neither marry nor are given in marriage. Nor can they die anymore, for they are equal to the angels and are sons of God, being sons of the resurrection. But even Moses showed in the burning bush passage that the dead are raised when he called the Lord, the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. For he is not the God of the dead, but of the living, for all live to him. Amen to that. Okay, let me unpack this one. After Jesus had proved to the Sadducees that their question was based on flawed assumptions, he pointed out to them that even Moses, you gotta remember, for them people, Moses was the guy on the top, the big kahuna back then. Everything that he written, that was the law. This is nothing else can be. And that's what they're trying to focus on and change to try and trick Jesus. All right, so he pointed out to them that even Moses, who according to them did not believe in the resurrection, of course that was according to them, had implied immortality and therefore resurrection, since the two concepts are inseparable. By calling God the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob so many years after the death of the patriarchs proves that God is living and that they are too. If they were not immortal, God would not have been called their God, for he is not the God of the dead, but the living. His covenant with the patriarchs was not only eternal, but personal. Therefore, it followed that though they had died, they were still alive, and will also, at the completion of the age, receive the resurrected life. It's going to be so cool. Moses, what's up, bro? Nice to meet you. Jacob, nice to meet you. Got that resurrection body going on. Yeah, I do too. Check this out. It's going to be amazing when we get to see these guys. Just God's word is amazing, how he just encompasses everything and brings it back around for us to have a backbone. You know, we use God's word and explain it. There's nothing better. God's word, when we use it correctly, will cut like a knife, will protect like a shield. It does everything for us, but we need to quote it and understand it properly. All right, verses 39 through 44. Then some of the scribes answered and said, "Teacher, you have spoken well." But after that, they dared not question him anymore. And he said to them, "How can they say that the Christ is son of David? Now David himself said in the book of Psalms, 'The Lord is my Lord. Sit at my right hand, till I make your enemies your footstool.' Therefore David called him Lord. How is he then his son?" Okay, let me explain this. After Jesus' question, in verse 41, he had silenced his audience and forced them to begin to think. He pointed out that the Old Testament itself expressly taught that the Messiah was much more than a mere son of David, for he so declared it. David himself in one of his psalms, can found in Psalm 110, called the Messiah his Lord, although he was, humanly speaking, a descendant of David. And that was foretold in the Old Testament, and it's in 2 Samuel, Micah, so many other places. And as it appears from a wealth of data in the New Testament, he was much more than a mere human ruler of the dynasty of David. Jesus' claim was because he was the Messiah. He was also the Son of God. He was in complete agreement with the Old Testament prophecies. I don't know if you guys ever studied prophecies with us, but everything has been fulfilled. There's only a couple left, I think, now. And Jesus fulfilled so many of them. His birth is just amazing. And it fulfilled so many prophecies. All right, and those prophecies can be found in Psalms 2:7 and Psalm 12. All right, verses 45 through 47. Then, in the hearing of all the people, he said to his disciples, "Beware of the scribes, who desire to go around in long robes, love greetings in the marketplaces, and the best seats in the synagogues, and the best places at feasts, who devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayers. These will receive great condemnation. They will be judged greatly." Although Jesus knew that by doing so, he would fan the flame of the murderous hatred of him, which his enemies cherished, he did not hesitate to speak the truth and unequivocally warned his disciples against the sin of which many of the Jewish leaders were guilty. Beware of the scribes can be also found in Matthew 23:1 and Mark 12:37. Beware of those who want to go out and pray in public and be very loud. And some people will still do that. And as some people are still losing their houses. And how are we standing today? Are we reading God's word? Are we hearing what's being said? You have to use discernment. Even here, are we teaching the truth? You need to read right along with us and use God's discernment that He gives you. Oh yeah, that's right. But if you go somewhere else, as I suggest here, you need to be reading right along with them. Oh yeah, you're right on. You're spot on. The pastor's spot on. Oh, wait a minute. And that's not what that context is talking about in Scripture. We need to be very clear. We need to understand what's being taught to us. As the Sadducees and all the other religious leaders back then, they were waiting for that one thing that they could twist and take Jesus out with. Well, in the end, we know Jesus went to the cross for us, but still, they were looking. They were trying hard. They were doing the devil's work. And today, that is the end of Luke 20. Thank you for joining us out in the internet world. Have a great day. God bless.